Ellen and Jim Graham appear like the quintessential American couple. Married for 27 years, they have enjoyed successful careers and, on the personal side, have achieved the American ideal as parents to 2 children, Cameron and Jay. Yet, beneath the Grahams' picture-perfect image is the story of a husband and wife who have bonded together in a dedication to providing the most normal life possible for Cameron, who has been intellectually challenged from birth. It's a process that Ellen and Jim had to learn is about allowing their daughter to experience life, rather than protecting her from it.
We knew fairly early on that Cameron had struggles with certain things, and she had both gross motor skill problems and some fine motor skill problems, and she had some intellectual, slowness in terms of development. And she's a great kid, very personable, always has been, but in terms of traditional academic accomplishment, it was clear that she was appropriately slotted into the special education world.
Was there ever a diagnosis to her, whatever her challenges are?
Just, intellectually disabled. There's not a category like if you say someone has, you can...
She's not Down, she's not autistic,
right,
there's none of those,
right,
it's
no.
not that.
Kind of the key thing that identified her was that she couldn't talk, and she couldn't even babble. So very early on, we started intense therapies. 2 years old, she started seeing a speech therapist. Even when she was age 5, she couldn't even repeat the simplest kind of babbling sounds, right? Kind of my personality and determination, being an only girl with 4 brothers, and also being a banker who kind of always had a solution to a problem. It always went in a pocket. It always was black and white. I thought, if I just find the right doctor, I'm going to solve this problem. And so we went to Johns Hopkins, and we saw a man who ran a department there, and they ran all kinds of tests on her. And he said, I don't really know why she can't talk. And so he said, but I know a doctor in New York, and she is the world's best communications-based neurologist for pediatrics. So we wait our 6 months to get an appointment with her, and we take the whole family at this point. Jay is pretty young, 3 or 4, and we go up on the train. And we go there. I go there with such incredible hope. And she spends about 20 minutes with our daughter, and then she meets with the 2 of us, and she says, you need to accept the fact that your daughter is going to function on the cognitive level of a 3-year-old for the rest of her life. I cry all the way home on the train, and by the time we get home, I'm mad, really mad.
Why?
Who is she? Who is she to decide, right? So call the guy back up at Hopkins, go to see him, say, don't ever send anyone to that woman again. Because, she was her goal was to remove hope.
Well, and let me interrupt and say, and a big problem is that a lot of parents will not have the reaction that Ellen had, and instead they'll say, oh, well, we've done everything we could. And that is more tragic than the diagnosis.
And so then what I decide is that I'm going to find all these things that are going to help her, that we are going to find solutions. So we tried lots of different things. Gradually, the doctor at Hopkins had us teach her sign gestures because she couldn't make words. And as she learned the sign gestures, she was able to start making the sounds for those words.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there was something about the way her brain fired that if she could do it physically, it allowed her to form it mentally.
When he did all the tests, when he looked at her brain, it looks perfect, right, on all the imaging. So he always described it as not a hardware problem, but a software problem. Even when she was very young, I could say, go get me a can of black beans out of the pantry, and she would go get the black beans.
It became obvious that there's a huge link between your physical progress and your speech patterns and everything else. And there's a strong link between crawling and learning to speak, for instance. Ellen found a PhD who had a program who worked with children with problems similar to what Cameron had, which involved a wide array of things like getting up every single morning, 365 days a year, and crawling. And we used to travel, and we'd be in the hotel, and Ellen and Cameron would be crawling on the floors around the hotel.
You had to find a way to teach her.
Exactly.
Right.
And so this one, who never says never, did this for years on end. Years on end.
I brought up the whole therapeutic gymnastics. It was a competitive gymnastics studio in addition to being a therapeutic. And they ran competitive boys teams that went and competed, with the goal of going to the Olympics, all that. And I would always drag my son along. And while Cameron had her therapy, and one day he said to me, why can't I do the boys group? And so the first day he did it. Our son was a climber. He was all over everything. They had a net that was, 30 or 40 feet up on that wall. And the first day he saw the net, of course, he climbed all the way to the top and rang the bell. My daughter had only ever climbed a quarter of the way up the net. But the day she saw that her brother on his first day got all the way to the top. And the next day I was driving her back for therapy by herself. And she said, I get a medal, because he got a medal for ringing the bell. And I said, I don't know, it's really high. They've never had you go that high. Guess what? She rang the bell. She knew that her younger brother did something, and she knew that she was the big sister. And so often for people who have intellectual disabilities, people don't set the goal high enough for them because they think, oh my gosh, they're going to get hurt. Or, oh, she could fall. Well, she wasn't going to let go of that rope until she got to that bell. And it was people like me who were holding her back from how determined she wanted to be. And so it made me look at things differently. When our son was in elementary school, he had a teacher. And one of the teacher's favorite phrases was, please allow your son or daughter to fall off a chair when they're in 3rd grade, so we don't watch them jump off a building when they're 30. Well, when you're intellectually disabled, you're never allowed to fall off the chair because something bad is going to happen to you. And so there are always people hovering, standing in the way of your self-sufficiency. And, we all learn from our consequences.
That was expanded when she got into the therapeutic skiing program.
Yeah,
That was down at Wintergreen. It's a ski resort outside of Charlottesville, Virginia. A fellow down there had developed a therapeutic skiing program, specifically to get on your skis and fall down, pick yourself back up again. And by the time we kind of gave up that interest because Cameron got involved in other things, she's a much better skier than I was. And it was that attitude of stop holding back these people just because on the outside they've got some issues.
Did that life lesson translate for both of you? Can you name specific things in your life that you then realized, well, even over and above Cameron, what are we doing ourselves that are just stopping us from moving forward in ways that could make us more productive in whatever it is we're trying to achieve?
You mean something like starting a bakery and chocolate shop
Exactly.
when neither one of us had any clue